Hello, and welcome back to the channel. It is Saturday, which means it's new Doctor Who Day, where you're actually getting the review at my normal time, roughly normal time of uploading, because I don't have anything on today, like I had last week where I went up to Dublin. But anyway, the Wish World, this episode. It's actually been an hour, a little over an hour since I've actually finished this episode. And that's simply the reason I've been prolonging actually filming this review is because I've been trying to sit with how do I feel about this episode, and then I was comparing it to The Legend of Ruby Sunday from last year. Last year's season, two-part finale, the part one to the two-part finale, and honestly, I'm not gelling with Wish World. I don't like it's an okay episode. It's not great. It's not bad. It's just in the middle. And so let's get into it. Because spoilers, go ahead if you haven't watched it, because I am going to be bringing up that reveal at the end, as well as yet another cameo that happened in this episode. So the episode opens with the Rani traveling back, apparently being back in time. I wonder where her TARDIS is, or if she's using the Doctor's TARDIS, because that is something that does get mentioned later on in the episode. And basically, that she kidnaps this child, who plays a pivotal role. And so then we, of course, flash back to the Wish World, where Conrad is basically seen as the ruler, essentially. He's constantly talking about stories and using it to feed this world to be a thing, because this is his reality. This is how he wants the world to be, because we learn later on in the episode that people with disabilities, they're homeless. They don't have a place in his world, and the same kind of goes for Ruby. She's kind of in between there, but it's continuing on from his appearance in Lucky Day, and he's talking about the Doctor and all that stuff, as telling the story and stuff. Turns out that the Doctor now goes by John Smith and works for the Unified Insurance Agency instead of it being the Unified Intelligence Task Force. And he's married to Belinda in this universe, and they have a child, Poppy, who is the exact same Poppy from Space Babies from last season, who also appeared in The Story and the Machine. So, we've been slowly bleeding into the Wish World reality here and there. And so anytime someone has doubt, there's something crashes, a cup or what have you. And that's something that's key, because in leading up to this episode coming out, the Russell and the Doctor Who social media is saying tables aren't supposed to do that. And we learn later on what that's in reference to. And so, it's going about a normal day. The Doctor goes to the unit. He's, working his insurance thing. Kate Stewart is the chief officer. The love interest that she has. The Doctor's trying to convince him to go ask Kate out. And apparently those who, it's, the standard stuff, like what some people want. The women, once they get married, they stay home, they have the kids, and they don't do anything. Because that we see that with Mel. She doesn't have any a husband or a kid, but she still serves the world in her own purpose. And so the Doctor's trying to get him to do that for Kate, and then he lets slip that he's a beautiful man. And that also makes hint that LGBTQ plus people aren't allowed in Conrad's Wish World, and that almost sets something off. And then of course we see the Ronnie, the main Ronnie, and so turns out that the child, we learn, has a little giggle, and it's the actual giggle, the toy maker giggle. So this is a part of the pantheon. It turns out it's the god of wishes. And so we learn later on that it's the god of wishes, and that's how, using the Doctor's Vindicator, who's been trying to get back to May the 24th, 2025, has amplified it to where the wish world through the god of wishes is able to be a thing. But people can doubt, but if they doubt too much, then they get arrested, which is what happens to the Doctor. He comes home from work, he's there sitting, he's watching Conrad on TV. We get a flicker of Susan, and then we get the first of the kind of reveals, and that is Rogue. Yes, we get a brief little cameo from Rogue where he mentions that he can only send one message to the Doctor, that trying to warn him of things that are happening, something about a pit, and he says that he misses him and that he loves him. And so that's that, and then it goes back to Conrad, and then he also says the tables aren't supposed to do that, which is when we see here a bunch of crashes. Belinda comes down, and the Doctor's like trying to show that the tables aren't supposed to do that. And it's true, because once you have doubt, and everything just falls through the tables, so the table isn't really there. So Belinda goes and has the Doctor arrested, and then the other Rani, the Mrs. Flood Rani, also gets her there, and then the Rani goes on a bunch of spiel, trying to get the Doctor to remember who he was, hinting that they weren't actually just enemies, that they were more than enemies, potentially even in a relationship. Which is interesting, because we don't know much about the Rani. We've only had her in 2 episodes. No, I'm not counting Dimensions in Time. That is non-canon, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion. But then she's still trying to get him to remember. They go out to the balcony because we see that the whole wish world is being destroyed, and that's when it gets revealed that she's doing all of this to bring back Omega, the first Time Lord. Which has me thinking now, like, of course, we know of Omega. He was one of the 3 founding Time Lords, with one of them being Rassilon, the other being Omega, and then the other, which has always been assumed to be the Doctor. That was before the Timeless Child thing happened. But now we know that Tecteun technically is the first Time Lord. How is Omega the first Time Lord then? So there's some hints and stuff that she actually knows that the Doctor is the Timeless Child and stuff. And so she's like, oh, well, she then locks him out, and she's like, oh, well, I don't need you. I'm not going to let you anywhere near me because I know you're going to try and stop me. So then she explodes the balcony, and the Doctor falls because, he remembers who he is then. But he's like, as he's following, he says, but you made a mistake. I have a daughter, Poppy. She's real. She's not made from the wish world. And that's where the episode ends, and we don't get to see a next time trailer. So that's the episode. Now I knew obviously that of the premise of this episode prior to going into this. I knew it before it even said what was going to happen for Wish World, because of filming leaks. We knew that whilst they were filming for what we thought was the series finale, where the Doctor just didn't recognize Ruby, and stuff like that. And that was before Belinda actually got confirmed to be a companion. So things like that. So I knew about this going into it, but I thought that was going to be for the reality war, not the wish world. So yeah, it's okay. It didn't blow me away. I'm just like, okay, can we get to the reveal here? Can we get to the Doctor being back to the Doctor? Can we see why the Rani's doing it? And initially, to be honest, when it was announced that it was Omega, my jaw did drop. But part of me also kind of expected that because we knew prior to it that the Unholy Trinity, as it was deemed, that it was the 2 Ranis, Conrad, and somebody else. Someone who was trapped, that they were going to try and get out. Now that, of course, being Omega. Part of me suspected that it was the Master, but thankfully we're not seeing the Master yet. Still couldn't rock up in the reality war. We'll see. But yeah, I just don't know how I feel about it. You know, it's okay, but it's like from compared to what we've got this past season, it's you know I think there's only like two episodes, this episode and the story in the engine, that I didn't really that I thought were okay. Every other episode I liked. You know, I think season two is a strong season, and it's a shame that not a lot of people are watching it. Um, and then of course yesterday the Sun posted that article. So again, the Sun is attacking Doctor Who. I really wonder what the Sun has against Doctor Who, to the point where they've done 3 different articles. You know, one about Jodie Whittaker leaving a couple of years back, and then they've done one about Millie Gibson leaving, which is somewhat the truth, but not really, because she's obviously going to appear in 3 episodes this season. And now this, where they're attacking Ncuti, which, like, I don't believe any of that stuff until we get concrete evidence or confirmations from the BBC themselves. Like, I know the Radio Times has said everyone was freaking out about, like, praising it. Like, the Radio Times says that the Doctor Who is going to continue on for a 3rd and 4th season, without Disney's involvement. When they're like saying, "Oh, this is great news." That's been the thing that's we've known this for ages. That has always been the case, where Russell has said if Disney ever pulled out, and he said that years ago, before this season came out. And it's funny how the fandom has a selective memory when it comes to this types of things. But Russell said that if Disney ever did pull their funding, they have set it up in a way where they can continue filming the show without Disney's involvement, without the Disney bucks. So that's not news. That's something that's been fucking said for months to even a year at this point. But anyway, let me know what you thought of the Wish World in the comments down below. Next week, my review is going to be I'm going to try to get it out as early as I can, because they've changed how they're doing things for next week's episode. Where normally, like with the Empire of Death and what we've had, where it'll drop on BBC iPlayer and Disney Plus wherever first, then it'll air on BBC One that night. That's not happening for this. They're going to do it the way the Christmas special was. It's going to air on BBC One and Disney Plus and BBC iPlayer simultaneously, and it's going to be in the cinemas, which is where I'm going to be. I'm actually going to go see this in the finale in the cinema, and that is going to be a cinevlog. So I'm optimistic about this finale, compared to Empire of Death, because this season has been strong, in my opinion. It has really, really been strong. I've been enjoying it week to week. It's felt like Doctor Who. I can't wait to see what happens in the Reality War next week in the cinema. So if you want to check that out, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed already, because I do Doctor Who reviews, and I'll catch you all next Saturday for that review, but I'll catch you all on Monday for my regular scheduled content, which is going to be a discussion video. So I'll catch you all next time.